again, my friends. It's good to see you all again. Well, it's that time again. Another letter has come, so it's time to see what kinds of questions, comments, and jokes you all have sent to me this time. I can't wait. Here we go. Alright, starting off, Megan says, "Cool. I have a question for you. Do you like gay, bi, lesbian, or do you not? Sorry if it's late." Well, Megan, obviously it's not too late. You're one of the first people to send me a question for this particular episode, so you're the first one to get an answer. Do I like gay, bi, lesbian? Do I like happy two women who love each other? Well, I suppose as long as they're happy and they're not hurting anybody, then it's all right by me. Do I like it? Do I not like it? I'm indifferent, really. So long as you're having fun and you're not hurting anyone, then by all means, go for it. Live your life, because you never know when you're going to have to come and see me. Right? Right. Thank you very much for your question, Megan. I believe you're a newcomer. Welcome to the show. Brenda says, "Just would like to know, is your spider real on your books? He never moves." Ha! Maybe he only has 7 legs. Well, to be quite honest, I've never really counted. I think he's got 8. But in all seriousness, he's just a part of the decoration. He's really there for anybody who happens to have arachnophobia. If they're scared of spiders and I can get a little bit of a jolt out of them, it kind of delights me a little bit. I like seeing people squirm like that sometimes, so if they jump, I get a good laugh out of it. He's all fake, doesn't move, but that doesn't mean he can't be scary, am I right? Thank you very much, Brenda, for that particular question. I hope I was able to give you an answer to your satisfaction. Next, Sebastian says, "Dear Undertaker," Sebastian here. Hello, Sebastian. "My sincere thanks for the information. I was able to get the furnace below as hot as Hades to correct the issue that we had. A question though. The young Earl and myself attended a funeral of a fellow businessman, and I'm amazed at how the mouth always stays shut. I'm curious in all things morbid, so I must know. How do you keep the mouth shut? I've seen death in my time, and their mouths are rarely closed after death. As for the payment, why don't cannibals eat clowns? Because they taste funny." Oh, come on, Sebastian, that was pretty low brow for a man of your caliber. But since I do enjoy your sense of humour and I do enjoy your company, I will grant the information that you seek. As for closing the mouths after death, there are a few different ways that you can approach this, really. If you want something more natural and not having to tinker with it very much, you can always choose to roll up a towel or a cloth and place it under the throat here, and that'll keep the mouth shut in a very natural process. You can also tie a ribbon or some sort of cloth under the jawline to the top of the head, and it won't go anywhere. You'll stay relatively shut. Then again, if you're wanting to go for something a little more cosmetically pleasing, where it doesn't look like you're trying to forcibly hold the jawline shut, you have a couple of options as well. First, you can do the suture method. You can take a needle and thread, you can go under the jawline, up through the mouth and the lips, back through, up the nose, around the septum, back down and pull tight. Won't have any problems there, and it should stay perfectly shut. Another option is something a little revolutionary for us, and that is the needle injector. And that way you can put wires with little loops in them into the gum line, and then you can take little ties and twist them shut. And once you twist them shut, you can hide the rest of the ties under the lips, and you won't have to worry about that. There have been instances of those little ties popping open every once in a while. I haven't seen them because personally it's never happened to me because I'm a little bit better than that. But I have heard of it happening, so if you do try that method, don't be surprised if suddenly there is a jaw-opening experience at the next funeral you go to. But hopefully that won't be the case. Thank you very much for your question, Sebastian, and again, I hope I was able to answer to your satisfaction. Burrito Girl 13 says, "Hi Undertaker, hello. I don't have any questions or anything, but I heard a couple of jokes that I need to tell you. I hope somebody hasn't already said them. Well, I appreciate you thinking of me, Burrito Girl. I always love to hear a good joke, and even if I've heard it once or twice, sometimes they're still pretty good. Let's see what you've got for me. Why do cemeteries have fences around them? Because people are dying to get in. That's very true. Oh, there's another one. Also, why did the cowboy die with his boots on? That's a poser. Because he didn't want to stub his toe when he kicked the bucket. So that's all I have. Ha 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 ha. Well, safety first, I suppose. You don't want to stub any toe when you're kicking the bucket. But then again, if he did stub his toe, I don't think you'd be hearing him complaining too much now, would you? Still, those were both very good jokes. I do really appreciate that, Burrito Girl, and thank you so much for thinking of me when it comes to jokes. I always appreciate hearing that from people. Queen of Obscure Pairings says, I have a new question for you. Oh my, let's see what you've got for me this time. Seeing as you're into medical science, as an Undertaker, and as a Reaper, what is one of your favourite historical death medical references? It can be something real that we use today, or something fantasized. Think like Dr. Frankenstein's discoveries. Which, come to think of it, you are too like Dr. Frankenstein. Remaining all those corpses, I think you mean reanimating, but we'll go with that. Sounds good to me. Also notice I used the name correctly, as many think Frankenstein is the monster's name. Too true. Frankenstein is not the monster's name, it's the doctor who came up with the monster. The monster himself is aptly named Frankenstein's monster, so there's some trivia for you there. I don't rightly know if the monster has a real name. We'll call him Fred, why not? As for me, I love the aesthetic of plague doctors and their ever-famous masks. I love how in theory their creation was meant to be good, to help people, while protecting themselves, hence why the masks were made. But history has documented cases of cold wicked ones who would use the dying or the sick just for unknown test subjects, which surely led to their actual death, but with the Black Plague about, they used that as a reason for why they died. Where these stories would branch off into lore and horror and just good creepy old stories, yet nowadays it has this old world gothic appeal as such horrific setting. I just find there is a morbid beauty to the history surrounding plague doctors and their masks. Well, you're not wrong. The interesting bird-like masks that the plague doctors had did serve a purpose. They put herbs and stuff into the beak there so that it would keep the stench of death away from them and help them concentrate. But seeing as how I was around to watch the plague doctors work, I can attest that you're not wrong there, Your Majesty. There were good doctors who actually wanted to help people. But then again, there were other doctors who used the Black Death as a mask for their own experiments. Then again, being the impartial reaper that I was, I didn't care what they did, so long as I harvested the souls. That's all I had to do. My job was done, right? No matter what happened to them, as long as they went where they were supposed to go. Now myself, as far as the medical or death references that I like, I'm going to choose a bit of a cop-out here, but hear me out here. Since I've always been curious about humankind, the one thing that's always interested me has been the air of mystery that the humans have for death. They don't know what goes on after the fact, so when it's time to go, they really have no idea what's going to happen. And sometimes that uncertainty drives certain humans mad. So it's interesting to see how they take the uncertainty of what's going to happen once they're no longer fit for this earth. So, I suppose you could say I'm interested more in the mystery of death for humans than I am anything else. And working around it all the time, everything else seems pretty mundane. But when you have that mystery, there's just something, I don't know, slightly romantic about it, I would say. So there you have it, Your Majesty. That's my take on the matter. Thank you very much for your question and for your observation about plague doctors. I always did find them pretty interesting myself. Mad Atterison says, thanks for answering my question and greeting. I was actually blushing. Oh, no need to blush on my account, Mad Atterison. Happy to do it, always. Just in case it's before or after the next video, my birthday is coming up on October 2nd. My questions are, what was it like being the principal of Weston College? And for fun, what plans are you going to do for Halloween? Well, in the event that I don't have another episode ready to go for the date, happy birthday, Matt Atterison! I know it's a little early, but I do hope that you have a good one, and that you're able to enjoy it to your fullest. Go out, have fun, get crazy, but whatever you do, make sure that there's no documented evidence of it, so if you get in trouble, nobody will know. I just keep that one between you and me, eh? Alright, sounds good. So for your questions, I was more of a headmaster instead of a principal of Western College, but even that was in title alone. You still had the board of directors of the education board that were there, and I was mainly there for a figurehead. To be quite honest, the only reason I was there was to oversee an experiment that I was doing at the time. So I wasn't even very interested in running a school. I pretty much just sat at the desk and looked important. So, as far as that goes, it was just another job. And, the most interesting part was running into the young lord and his butler there again. They always seem to follow me around. I'd say they almost don't trust me or something. But anyway, it was a fun time, and the experiment was, for the most part, a success, I would say. It will be interesting to see where it goes from here, of course, but there you have it for that. As for Halloween, I plan to do what I do best. Sit in me parlour, act creepy, and snack on dog biscuits. Because let's face it, that's really all I ever do. Well, when I'm not running around chasing bizarre dolls and whatnot, of course. Now, if I do get any trick-or-treaters that come by, I will be happy to share me dog biscuits with them, but 9 times out of 10, they're not interested. So, more biscuits for me, right? Right. Thank you very much, Matt Atterison, for that question, and again, happy early birthday. I hope you enjoy it. Finally, Yuki says, Dear Undertaker, how are you? Well, I'm very well, Yuki. Thank you very much for asking. How are you? Outstanding. Glad to hear it. My question is, just why exactly do you fancy dog treats so much? Do any other foods interest you at all? Well, funny you should ask that question. I was just talking about the dog treats. Did you hear me by any chance? Anyway, why do I like them so much? Well, when it comes down to it, they're pretty bare bones. Well, seriously, they're very easy to make. They're not very complicated. They're basic nutrition. It's really all that I need. Do other foods interest me? Sure, but when you've been around for as long as I have, you've tried pretty much everything that there is to try, and it's not quite as exciting anymore. So you really just stick to the basics of what you need. And with the recipes that I have for the dog biscuits, they're pretty basic in the nutrition that I need. That being said, the young lord is able to butter me up a little bit, so to say, with his version of the Earl Grey shortbread dog biscuits. You've seen those before, and I usually take those to conventions with me to share with the public, because those are a lot more popular than the traditional dog biscuits. So honestly, if I had to choose between any of the food there, I would choose those dog biscuits over anything else, because let's face it, they are delicious. And after I've had about 5 or 6 of them, I have enough energy to last me all day, all night, and into the next day. There's a lot of caffeine in those cookies. I believe that's what you Americans call them, isn't it? Oh well, they're still biscuits over here, but I try to be a little bit more American for some of you American folk over there. So in short, I'll eat pretty much anything. I just can't be asked to make it. So I stick with the dog treats because they're easy to make, they're easy to eat, and they give me basically everything that I need to survive. And let's face it, when you're as old as I am, that's really about all you can do. So thank you very much for those questions, Yuki. Hope to hear from you all again very soon. That's going to do it for this letter. I believe when you see me next, I'm going to be at another one of those conventions. I'm actually going to Anime Getaway in a couple of weeks, so if any of you happen to be locals and you're going to be at Anime Getaway, stop by and say hi. Maybe have a biscuit. We'll have ourselves a grand old time. But for now, that's going to do it for everything we have here. I do hope to hear from you all again very soon. I love chatting with you and reading all about your questions, comments and jokes in the letters that you provide. So until we meet again, be seeing you then. Ta-ta!